Why do you think this year has been the breakthrough year for them? Because this was supposed to be the down year.
I have a theory about that, and I believe that because they have gone younger, right? They've had tremendous teams, better teams on paper than this team. And yet here they are in the finals, something they haven't done since 1998 when my good buddy Ron Wilson was the coach. And I was an agent and had lots of players on that team. Simon and Brian Bellows was here, all these guys.
How's Chris Simon doing, by the way?
Chris is doing okay. He's doing okay.
That doesn't sound.
It took a turn.
Wow.
Right. So anyhow, when Brian signed those guys, it was controversial, but that's what he felt they really needed, and that's what really turned their fortunes around. As far as this year, why are they doing so well this year when maybe they're not as good on paper? I believe it's the youth and enthusiasm. It's a couple of things, but it's the youth and enthusiasm of some of the younger players. Verana, just giving those guys a chance to play. I think in some ways, Alex Ovechkin has figured out 5 years ago, if Alex Ovechkin played the minutes that he's playing right now in the series, he was fifth last game in that winning effort in Game 2, fifth amongst forwards on the Washington team. I think that might have been a problem for the Washington Capitals, and I think Alex Ovechkin, rightly so, as a tremendous leader, because he has figured out that it's better if I'm maybe fifth and we win than if I'm first and we lose. And that's the right way to look at it. Alex is a winger. The guy has been money his whole career. I'm so happy for him to be here because he deserves the credit. He hasn't really gotten it because they haven't won the big one yet. But it was unjustified.
You see how badly he wants it, too. You can just see it right on his face.
He's an absolute game changer out there. But as a winger, the way he plays, he shouldn't be your top forward. That's hard for fans maybe to digest. It's definitely hard for coaches to manage. That's your star player. But the one thing about Alex is he's the happiest guy at the rink when they win. And I've played with guys that they were the happiest guy at the rink if we lost 10-7, but they had 2 goals. That's not Alex Ovechkin. He wants to win. And I think there's been an evolution there. And then I think just the very small, minute move that it appeared to be at the deadline, adding Michael Kempe to their decor has been huge. I really think it solidified their decor.
When you look at these two teams, and we've kind of debated this over the last couple of days, would you agree that the Capitals, player for player, are more talented than Vegas?
I would agree that they have the better higher-end players. I don't know about player for player, though. Vegas is just, just think about the concept that they have supposed to have.
Everyone's cast-offs.
Everybody's fourth best D. That's what they're supposed to have. That's the way the expansion draft was set up. And some teams, quite frankly, misevaluated their guys, clearly. It's the biggest mistake that organizations make, and yet it happens all the time, misevaluating your own players.
Well, the Caps gave up Nate Schmidt, who was a good player.
People were talking about they knew they were giving up a good player, though. They
had to.
That's a guy who's been covering Alex in the first 2 games, like 80% of the time he's been out on the ice.
Right, and I know Nate. He's from Minnesota. He's a good guy. He's reached a much higher ceiling. So, you could put that in there. I would suggest the Capitals thought that they were going to lose Grubauer.
Right.
That's what they thought. And Vegas just did a tremendous job. I mean, that was a big pickup for them. But somebody asked me the other day, who would be the MVP for Vegas? So I started naming the general managers that gave up the best players. I can tell you, I look at Columbus with Wild Bill Carlson. These guys have been incredible. So, at the end of the day, I think the National Hockey League made a really strong statement in saying we're no longer going to stuff our expansion teams down. It's bad for business if they stink for 5 years.
Here we are, 2 games into it. What did you think going in, and what do you think now as we've seen 2 games?
Going in, I thought it would be a 7-game series, and through 2 games, I haven't seen anything to change my mind on that. It's much more even than we thought. It's been interesting for me to watch Vegas deal with something they haven't had to deal with all year long, which is kind of remarkable considering they won the Pacific, and had 51 wins, and that is that they were the underdog every series.
Right.
They were. So now they finally get here and they get picked to beat Washington.
Right, they're the favorite. Right.
And I was looking at the lines.
Is the money.
I was looking at the lines. They were minus 160.
Yeah. They're pretty big favorites. That's significant.
So they've had to kind of deal with that. And I watched what it did to Nashville this year. Last year, Nashville was the 8th seed. They played really well down the stretch, but in the playoffs last year, they were the underdog the entire way, and they rode that all the way to the final series against Pittsburgh. This year, Nashville was favored, and it looked like it weighed on them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been curious to see how Vegas would deal with that. Washington, on the other hand, I thought that they could get some things accomplished offensively. I saw that in the first game. It was much tighter in the second game, but I don't see how this doesn't certainly go 6 and most likely 7 games, and either team is capable of winning right now. It hasn't been stamped that Vegas is definitely going to win or that the Capitals are definitely going to win. I think it's wide open.